anxiety and feeling apprehensive is something we've all been feeling more and more of during the pandemic. Harry, just to come back to you, how have you found the past year and what do you do day to day to keep yourself in the present?
Um, yeah, good question. I mean, past year, well, it's been very strange. It's been like I mean, for personally, like career wise, it's been frustrating, but it's been, I think particularly at the beginning and still having those moments, feeling quite, emotionally overwhelmed by what like people have had to go through. I remember particularly at the beginning, like feeling, just quite, emotional of seeing all the scenes unraveling on the news and being stuck in our houses and coming out on Thursday evenings with our neighbors and, this strange sense of togetherness as well. And then now seeing what's been happening in India and now the Philippines, it makes it very hard to complain about your own personal situation. But having said that, a lot of people have had a very difficult year. Whether that's been due to financial stresses because of the pandemic, which can cause stress and mental health problems, whether that's, the feeling of being locked up and not seeing loved ones and family and friends. But yeah, me personally, I think, exercise again has always been, it's something that I can always rely on, it's something that's always there. And I, find it even on tough days, it always lifts my mood. And routine, as Linda was reiterating what I'd said, it's so important for me. I try and go to bed roughly around the same time every night when I'm obviously haven't been gigging for the past 2 years, but yeah, even on tour, I try to go to bed. I try to settle down after shows, go to bed, get up, do some exercise, get into a good routine. And I feel so much better for it. And I enjoy my job so much more because I feel fresh and happier. And, so yeah, it's been a challenging year, but I've got children as well. So you kind of have to focus on them. But there's all sorts of things you can do. And I think, thank God we at least had an hour outside during that first lockdown. That was the savior.
Absolutely. And I'm sure getting out and about with your kids, just being in nature, is a wonderful experience. And just coming back to you, Dr. Linda, this link between nature and our mental health can't be underestimated, can it? Because I know myself, if I'm feeling down or incredibly anxious, getting outside, breathing in the fresh air, whether that's for 5 minutes or 5 hours, really does make a difference.
It really does. And in fact, we're getting sort of an increasing amount of research now to attest to that. There's actually a scientific field called ecotherapy that's evolving. And it's kind of looking at why. Because anecdotally, we've heard this a lot. People always say, well, I feel better when I've been out in nature. So we haven't exactly pinpointed why, but we have some ideas. So there was a study done about 6 years ago, back in 2015, where a bunch of researchers looked at healthy people's brains after they walked for about an hour and a half. And they looked at whether they walked in a natural setting or an urban one. And they found that people that walked in nature, as I was saying earlier, had lower activity in the prefrontal cortex. Now, this is the part of the brain that's active during rumination. And when I say rumination, I mean, it's those sticky negative thoughts. When you get that thought in your head of like, oh, and you can't let it go. Maybe it was an interaction with a friend, or maybe it was something that you're worried about, but it's that thought that won't leave your mind. Actually, walking in a natural setting seems to help with that. The other thing that we know, for example, is that the hormone cortisol, which tends to happen in the fight or flight response, right? So when you're feeling very anxious, we know that it calms that. In fact, an even more recent study found that just listening to nature sounds allows us to kind of calm that brain activity, focus our self-directedness inwards, and lower those cortisol levels. And again, even those of us that can't get outside or that kind of work or live in the city, actually just listening to the sounds, even if you're not there, can still have a positive effect.
I think that's really good advice, actually. I do that now before bed. I'll put on an app and listen to kind of bird sounds or nature sounds, and it really does help me to calm down.